Got it. Hey, what's up? So, it's been a minute, but I've been pretty busy. The last video I posted, I actually sent that video out when I was in San Diego. So, I started filming that 2 days before I flew out. I had to wait for the paint, obviously. Got the paint the last day, painted it, worked on it all the night before I flew out, and then I flew out the next day and edited that video and posted it. But then I spent 4 days in San Diego, flew back, had a few hours to rest before I was out to downtown Chicago to work Fan Expo Chicago. The people over at Fan Expo were nice enough to send me and my photographer 4-day passes to go to the whole event. So that was really cool. And that's what I've been doing for like the past week or two. So I've been very busy, but if you've been following up on my TikTok and Instagram, you've been seeing all that new stuff. However, I didn't forget about the YouTube homies. When I was at Fan Expo, I did pick up a cool thing, this guy. So if you watch The Mandalorian, you know exactly what this thing is, and you know exactly how excited I am for this thing. Got it. So this is the pistol that Din Djarin uses in The Mandalorian. I saw this at the booth for like 12 bucks, and I picked it up because I knew I could repaint this to look a lot cooler than the orange and white that it is. This is made by RUBIES, the same people that made this Han Solo blaster and this Princess Leia blaster. Both of which I've customized, and I have the Han Solo blaster here. This guy. So I customized this a few years back before I even had any sort of content creation or any sort of platform. So, when I saw this, I customized it because it's like one of the easiest things to do. So essentially we're going to be doing the same thing to this guy. You guys know the process of how we do these, the sanding, the painting, the priming, the weathering, all that fun stuff, but I'm going to walk you through each step of how I'm customizing this pistol and how you can do the same at home. Looking at it now, it seems very simple and something that anybody can do with literally no experience whatsoever. So follow along at home and I'm going to show you how to make it real. It's been, oh my god.
Okay, well, first things first, as we can all see, we have the shiny plastic again, which, as we know, shiny plastic is not good because paint don't stick to it and it's going to rub off. So, our first step, always, is going to be to sand it. So, we're going to take a quick pass over it with a sanding sponge along with some high grit sandpaper just to give it more of a texture for the paint to bite into over the whole piece. And we also got to get rid of all this legal bullshit telling you like who owns it and not to shoot your eye out, even though this one doesn't even fire. They're always like, don't point it at your friends, don't do anything fun. We're going to sand all that off because we're making it not look like a kid's toy, we're making it look real. So, first step is to get rid of all the shine. So a quick little side note I wanted to point out. I just brought this in from the gray primer we used, and I couldn't see it before the primer had set on it. I see it now though. If you look, you can see these scratches from the sandpaper because I used a very low grit sandpaper to get that shiny texture off. So what you could do is, if you don't like these scratches, what you could do is then go over it with a higher grit sandpaper. So I used a 100 grit, but what you could do is, if you don't like those scratches, this detail here, if you don't like those, you can go over it with a finer grit sandpaper now that you can see that they're there, if you want a smooth finish. Me personally, that was an accident. I didn't mean to do that, but I'm gonna leave it because I like when things are informal. I like when things don't look perfect all the way, and I think that is going to do a lot of detail for us in the weathering process. When we start dry brushing and weathering with shoe polish, I think that is definitely gonna pick up some cool detail, and it picks up some just very nice organic looking, you know, weathering. So I'm personally gonna leave it. It's on the other side too, just scattered around, you know. So I'm personally gonna leave it, but if you do this and you sandpaper it off and you don't like that, you can go over it with a finer grit sandpaper and everything will be okay. But I just wanted to point that out, that if you see that, at this point now, it's intentional. But I always like to point out steps like that when we come across them. We've just taken this in from the flat black layer that was put on it. Now we have one of two ways we can go. We could start detailing it by doing like the wood grain and the gold and the dry brushing, but I'm going to take one step back because looking at the references, I see that the pistol is more of a gunmetal gray. So the way I'm going to get around this is, since I only have a flat black, I'm going to utilize the gray primer that's underneath. So I'm going to take a very light sanding sponge, I believe this one is 120, yeah, a very light sanding sponge, and very lightly scour away some of the black areas to highlight the gray to pop out from under. This will just give more dimension to the piece and will also create more value when looking at it. So instead of this flat gray or this flat black color, there'll be some gray popping through to give that steel look. On top of the dry brushing we'll add on. This is just something to add a little bit of depth to it. Okay, this is how it's looking after the sandpaper pass. So when I was going over it with the sandpaper, some of it, as you can see, scraped off the primer too. So the white plastic from underneath is showing through. On some areas I like that, so like up here or in these highlight areas, I dig that. Up here too. This, not too happy with that. It's on the other side too. I hit that a little bit too hard. Everywhere else, I'm fine where it is. So I think I'm gonna go over it just with some shoe polish. Just when I do the whole piece in shoe polish, I'll go heavier in this area, just to darken it up a little bit. It should be okay though. The next steps we have is I need to paint this piece gold. So I'm gonna tape off and paint this gold. We're going to do the wood grain handle, so we're going to do a different method for that. I'm going to show you how to do the wood grain handle, and then dry brushing. Super simple stuff. Okay, so in terms of the wood grain handle, I've been thinking about the best way I want to do this, because obviously this is plastic, so I can't make it wood grain. There are a few different ways I could go about doing this. I could use like a vinyl wood grain wrap to get the texture. I could use some sort of adhesive to put it on there, but I think I want to do the simple method because I want to show you guys how to do a good looking prop with the least amount of money spent whatsoever. So we're going to be using basic acrylics. So what I'm going to be using is a mix of burnt umber and burnt sienna. The reason we're using two is because the wood grain is not all one color. The wood grain is two colors. It's like this one solid dark color with these light colors poking through. So the way we're going to go about doing this is we're going to paint on the light color first, let it dry, set, and cure. And then on top of it, I'm going to paint on the dark color, and then I'm going to lightly sand away that dark color to reveal the light color underneath. And then after it gets hit with a wash of shoe polish, it should all set in. And in theory, I specify in theory, it should look like wood grain. I'm kind of winging it on this one because I just want to see how it's going to work. But hey, we're going to see if it works or not. So hopefully it works. Well, as a famous man once said, my good friend Chris Stanley, it is now time for some shitty commentary. I'm so sorry, Chris. I just keep stealing your lines. Anyway, what we're doing now is filling out the handle grip with the first color that we said. That was the burnt sienna color. This is the lighter color to go underneath. As you can see here, it is drying out. And then we have the burnt umber color that we're going to put on top. This is a, you can see, significantly darker color that I actually end up mixing with the black to make it even darker. And the reason I'm doing this is because I want a very stark value difference between the top color and the bottom color for when I take the sandpaper to it. After it dries and we have the two different toned colors, I take a sanding sponge to lightly sand away the top color to then reveal the bottom color. It looks a lot better in person than it does on camera. My phone was having trouble picking it up, but I ended up doing a few different methods with this. I scoured away and sanded away the dark paint while also using the light paint to then dry brush back on top. So it was a little bit of a mix to get that wood grain. After that, we then moved to the barrel of the gun using this gold paint, this treasure gold paint that I found online. It had some trouble adhering to the actual blaster, as you can see, but with a few layers and a little bit of patience, I was able to get a good even coverage on it. Of course, after taping everything off. Then we get back to our Model Master Silver, which we've used before. We've used it for dry brushing, but this time we're using it to paint on a silver portion of the blaster. Right next to the gold portion, we're going to have a silver portion, and they look very bright now, but don't worry, because we're going to cover those up with some shoe polish right after this. We're then going to take that same Model Master Silver and use it to do our handy dandy dry brushing that we do all the time. Don't know why I said handy dandy. I've never said that in my life before, but this is a first. But yeah, we're doing our dry brushing that we've always done. You can see how it looks here. I always love the process of dry brushing. It might be my favorite process of these repaints, these props. I just love how it looks. You can also see on the other side, we use that gold paint to paint the rivet and the that golden stream. Here we are taking our shoe polish, going over those now metallic pieces that we painted, using the shoe polish method to paint on our shoe polish and then dab it away, just to get a little bit of grime in there, just to make it more worn and torn and to get rid of that shine that we had before. I use that same shoe polish on top of the handle grip to kind of do the same thing, to kind of ingrain it in the blaster and add a little bit more depth to it. And now it's time to seal it up and show you the final reveal.
So thanks very much for watching, guys. I have a lot of fun doing these ones. I really like these prop and pistol repaints. I might do one for Han Solo too. I know I did this one a while back, but I might redo it with a few new tricks. Let me know if there's any pistols or any sort of props you want me to repaint or show you how to repaint. If you have one that you want to know how to do, I'd love to give it a try. But until next time, thank you for watching, and I'll see you later. Peace!